What's going on YouTube? OCD for EDC here, and what I got for your face balls today, we're going to talk about modifying knives. So I get a lot of questions about this. This knife right here happens to be the Aloni Goat, and I very recently did this bronze anodizing on this knife. I also, if you have been watching my videos, I also pulled the inlays out of this knife and switched them. This did have twill carbon fiber inlays, and I went with shred carbon fiber. This is not my knife, so this is what the customer wanted. And I did do, we'll see if we can show it off here. Get her buffed up a bit, get the fingerprints off. But I did do a bit of engine turning. It's kind of hard to tell in the light there, but you can see that there's kind of circular scratch marks, if you will, and they go in either direction. But it just gives it a little bit of interesting character, if you will. Out in natural light, it looks really cool, and it just kind of reflects the light a little differently and gives it a little bit of shine. Pretty interesting, and I think it turned out really great. My fingerprints on it are not stellar, but anyway, so this is one type of titanium anodizing, and then another type of titanium anodizing is this type of a finish here. And you can see that this finish here, this is very, very shiny. It's because this titanium here was completely polished before I did the anodizing. And then I brushed the pocket clip and the back spacer. But this here I was going for a fade from purple and blue down to a bronze color. And you can see here that, you know, the purples and blues kind of stop here on both sides, and then it transitions to bronze. This here is the Tucson TS89. Great knife, and turned out pretty cool in my opinion, and so did the Goat. Just two different processes, and both are I put videos out on both showing how I do these processes, but I get a lot of questions, so hopefully today I'll be able to answer a lot of those questions. So this style of anodizing I do with an electric power supply, and this style of anodizing right here I do with heat and acid. Just two different processes, completely different deals all the way around, and obviously completely different results. So both are very, very critical in order to get the finish that you're looking for. There is a lot of prep work that goes into both styles of anodizing, and the prep work makes all the difference in the world on the type of finish that you're going to end up with in the end. So in this case here, like I mentioned, this I had to polish all of this titanium prior to doing this anodizing. You can see that this is very, very shiny underneath those colors. And this one here, although I did not polish it, still a lot of prep work went into it. So what we're going to talk about is what kind of prep work we're doing to achieve these types of finishes, and what I use to do that prep work. So first and foremost, a lot of sandpaper. Lots and lots and lots of sandpaper. This here happens to be 220 grit, but you know, I have tons of sandpaper, and most of my sandpaper I buy like this in sheets that are 9 by 11, kind of standard paper size. But then I also use smaller sheets like this right here. So you can see this here is 2000 grit sandpaper. This one's 2500. That's 2000. And this here is 1000 grit. So lots and lots of sandpaper. There's a knife that I'm working on currently. This happens to be the Spyderco K2, and you can see here that this is like a brushed finish, and I am just working to get this completely flat so then I can polish this knife. So, it's in some cases can be very difficult. It's a lot of hand work, and I use I've got a granite stone that I've actually showed in some other videos, but it's like 12 inches. I think it's 9 by 12 by 2 inches thick, and it's called a surface plate, and they use them in machine shops for all sorts of different things. You can use it to calibrate tools in machine shops, but you can also just use it for a flat surface. And so you can take sheets of sandpaper like this, tape it down to that stone, and then rub your part on it to make it perfectly flat. All right. So if you do not do the prep work, so you can, like I said, this started looking like this right here. This is just a stone wash finish, and that's what the entire knife looked like right from Spyderco. And you can see here, this is after lots, and there's some fingerprints on it, but you can see that this is a lot of sanding. I don't know exactly how much time I've got into this, but a significant amount of time at this point. And it's, you know, just a lot of hand work, and it's time consuming. So if you do not do the prep work and do the sanding and polish it out completely, this is what you can expect. So this is a knife that I did when I was very first learning how to do this finish. And I just hit my camera. And I was just messing around, and so I used this is just a cheap Tucson. I think this is the TS52. And this here happens to be just a D2 knife, you know, something that you can purchase. It's like 35 or 40 bucks or something like that. Kind of a cool little knife, but I've left this one alone. This is during my learning process of how to do this finish. But you can see here, there is a vast difference between these two, although the actual anodizing process was the exact same. So that's the difference between prep work. So on one side, if you put forth the effort and actually do the prep work, you end up with this. If you do not do the prep work, you end up with this. Huge difference in the way that those look. Now, of course, by the time I did this one, I had learned quite a bit, and, you know, fading colors and all that kind of stuff. And I, you know, got to a level where I could do something like this. However, in the beginning, this is what I ended up with. And like I said, I really left it like this just as kind of a reminder. And I'm glad I did at this point, because now I get to show it off. So, you know, at some point I'll probably strip this back down and redo it, because yeah, it just looks like shit. So, yeah, this knife certainly has potential to be cool. It just doesn't look very good now, and it's because I did not do the prep work. Good Lord, I keep hitting the camera. All right, some of the other items that I use to do a lot of this prep work. I use a cordless, happens to be a Milwaukee, but it's, you know, basically it's a cordless Dremel. I think Milwaukee refers to it as a rotary tool. Yeah, rotary tool. But, you know, this one's a 12-volt lithium cordless Dremel, essentially. It's got an 1/8 inch collet in there, and you got different bits that you can put inside there. So here's the little collets that go in, and those hold your bits. And you can change to different size collets and all sorts of stuff. And they make tons and tons and tons of bits and accessories for these tools. This here happens to be a polishing bit. And I'll show you what this... Let me get this in there. All right. So this particular bit right here, this is actually a Dremel made accessory. This is what they look like when they're new. And these are impregnated with polishing compound. All the things that you see here on this video, I'll put links in the description on where you can buy all these things. These are really great. They do a fantastic job. You can see that I'm using this one, or have used this one. And this one's brand new. So you can see on the end what they look like versus the side. but these are impregnated with polishing compound. They work extremely well. Here's another one that I've used, and this one here I've used to get into corners so it's all rounded. You know, it started off looking like that. So anyway, these guys are not super cheap. You can buy them as a 2-pack, and I think they're, I don't know, 15 or 16 bucks or something like that for 2 of them, and they don't last forever. So one of the items that I use to get into really small places prior to polishing is something like this right here. This is a plastic material, and embedded inside that plastic, again, this goes into the Dremel, but embedded inside that plastic is an abrasive, and they come in different grits, and I will show you. You can buy a kit of them like this right here. So you can see here I've got 80 grit, 120, 220, 400, 600, and 1000. And they're different colors. And you've got these little plastic pieces. Like I said, they're embedded with abrasive. And so you put them on the shaft there and put them in your rotary tool, and you can use them to sand down areas. You know, if you have an air or a spot on a knife, well, like this lock bar cut out there, where you need to get down in those corners. So you can see I haven't even started on that lock bar relief cut yet, but that's the kind of tools and stuff that I use. I also use just, you know, straight up sandpaper by hand, but the when you're using the rotary tool, you can get carried away and go too far, or use something that's too aggressive and put divots in the material, and then you're going to be in bad shape, and you're not going to be too happy because it's going to look like shit, and there's really no turning back from screwing up like that. The other thing that I use are Scotch-Brite bits. So this one here is a Dremel accessory. This is a quick attach deal. It's got a little spring-loaded, if I can get it off there. So it's got a little spring-loaded collar there, and in the center it has a little attaching point. So you just pull that collar down and then line it up and turn it, and it stays right on there. Let it go, and so it's locked on there and can't spin. So pretty cool little setup there. But you can also buy them in a package like this, and different colors again are different grits. Now each one of these these are not the quick attach style. These are just Scotch-Brite on an 1/8 inch shaft for a rotary tool, and again they come in different grits. You can see 120, 180, 320, and 400. These kinds of things I use for all sorts of different things. So you can see some of these have been used for different things. And again, you don't want to get too carried away with the power tools because you can go too far, but they are useful in certain situations. So one of the things that I want to show you here is the show side scale for the K2 here. You can see that this looks, let me clean that up a little bit, get the fingerprints off. This looks pretty polished. I mean, you can see the reflection in it. You know, it's pretty polished, and this is about a 2000 grit finish. And a lot of people think that that's enough, and it isn't. So I get asked this question a lot, and, you know, yes, you can see a reflection, but it's not like a mirror. You know, you're not really seeing good color and stuff in the reflection. This is not good enough if you want a perfect, perfect mirror finish and for the colors to really pop. So I'm going to show you the difference, because I did half of this, the difference between not enough polish, or, you know, sanding to about 2000 grit, and actual polish. So this is actual polishing. Now, the reason I'm showing this is because this isn't actually done, because I actually have to go back to the sandpaper because I did not do enough. You can see in the middle there where it looks hazy. That's actually because I did not sand enough to get down past all that stone wash finish. So there's actually little divots that are really hard to show. You can see my camera lens there, but you can see now this feels like glass to feel it. But you can, very easily when you start to polish, you can see all those little bitty divots. Now, around the edges, you can see that I did get past all the divots. So I need this entire thing to look like these edges here. But I started to polish this one out and realized real quickly that I need to do more sanding. So it's back to the sandpaper to start all over again. Now, that sucks because the sanding is time consuming. It's a pain in the ass. It's not a ton of fun. But if you want good results and you want good anodizing, results, you have to do the polishing. So there's no fast, easy way around it, even though I do use a power tool for certain parts and whatnot. There's still a tremendous amount of handwork going into this. So I just wanted to show, this, although it does reflect well, and you can see my finger reflection in it right there. It's a reflective surface. It's nothing like this, and this isn't anywhere near good enough. So you can see, the reflection coming into that. There's a window back there, but you can also see it just looks like it was hit with sand, or almost like a sandblasted finish. So, like I said, I just got to get through there and sand through all that stuff and then polish it out again. That's just the way it is. So, it's sometimes hard to see those little bitty details until you polish it out. And if I were to go ahead and anodize it here, I would still get the colors and stuff. They just wouldn't pop nearly as much. It wouldn't be this bad, but it also wouldn't be this good. So, so that's the deal. I answer, like I said, I get asked these questions all the time, and I get hit up all the time. People saying, well, how do I do this or that or whatever? And I tell people, you got to polish it. And I hear people say, oh, well, I did. And they think that this is polished. It's not. This is polished. However, this still isn't good enough. So, you can see right around the edges, you can see my finger reflection right there on this edge right here. That's polished. So, and then over here is also polished, but because I didn't do enough sanding, then you can see over here it looks like a mirror. I mean, there's fingerprints and stuff, and then that's another thing. Before you go into the acid and do the anodizing, you have to make sure it's very clean. And of course, I wear gloves and all that stuff when I'm actually doing this. But I just wanted to show the difference between a brushed finish, what some people call polish, and actual polishing. So, having actual mirror polish, I mean, here in that reflection, you can see my finger, it's like a mirror. And that's what you're looking for. So if you're going to do this style of heat anodizing, this right here, which I'll throw at the end of this video, there'll be a link to the video where I show off how to do this style of anodizing. I'll also put this style of anodizing. I'll put that video up as well. But all the materials and items that I use, all the sandpaper, all the bits, this kind of stuff, I'll put links up in the description for all of those things. So if anybody's interested and you want to try these things on your own, I would recommend getting some type of a Dremel or rotary tool. Doesn't have to be this brand. There's tons of brands out there. This one's a good one. If you're interested, Milwaukee makes really good stuff. I've been really happy with it. and I've had this one for a little while. Compared to the actual cordless Dremels that are out there, the actual Dremel brand, this is much more robust and just stronger, more heavy duty, if you will, than the actual Dremel brand of cordless tool. Now, Dremel makes some corded tools that work really well, but there's tons and tons of brands out there, and yeah, they'll serve you well. So, anyway, guys, this was a video that I felt like just needed to be out there, and I get so many questions on it, and I wanted to show the difference between polished and not, and the different types of finishes that you can do on just regular titanium to get different effects and different things. You can, do sanded finishes or Scotch-Brite finish, or you can polish this and make, the power supply style anode, make it bright and shiny, or you can make it dull, depending on the effect that you're going for, the look you're going for. So there's countless ways you can do this, and as many ideas as you can come up with. I mean, there's just a million different ways you can do anodizing and do customization. So it's an endless opportunity to show how creative you are and show off your skills. So I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. And this K2 I'll be showing off here very, very soon. Yeah, it's a cool knife, and it's going to be, the work that I'm doing on it's going to be fantastic. So anyway, guys, thanks a lot. Hope everybody's staying safe and healthy, and we will catch you next time. Bye.